Hello friends, welcome to State Engineering Service Examination section of Winds of Change. We will cover so many questions from the civil engineering topic here from Expert IES. You may contact us at windsofchange2020@gmail.com, and for the study material you can download from the link given in the description box. You can subscribe to this channel to stay updated for more videos. You may like these videos if you feel useful for you and comment for any feedback. Welcome to the third video in the continuation of top 160 questions of irrigation and hydrology. In this video, we will cover question number 61 to 90, that is 30 questions. So let's begin. 61st question, wetted perimeter of a Rhesyme channel for a discharge of 64 cubic as per Lassie's theory will be. We have to find out the wetted perimeter here. 19 meter, 38 meter, 57 meter or 76 meter. Can you recall the formula for wetted perimeter in terms of discharge? It will be, just think about it, it will be 4.75 under root Q, which is the formula for wetted perimeter, where Q is the discharge. So under root Q, that is under root of 64 will become 8 and 8 into 4.75. So the answer will be 38 meter. That is option B will be the correct answer. Memorize this formula is very important. Next question, the uplift pressure on the face of the drainage gallery of a dam is taken as. We have to find out the uplift pressure, that is pressure from the bottom at the face of the drainage gallery in a dam. Hydrostatic pressure at the toe, or average of the hydrostatic pressure at the toe and the heel, 2/3 of the hydrostatic pressure at the toe plus 1/3 of the hydrostatic pressure at heel, or none of the above. Just think about it. You can draw that diagram also in the elementary profile of this dam. If you will place a drainage gallery, then you have to determine the uplift pressure there. Can you recall it? The answer here will be 2/3 of the hydrostatic pressure at the toe plus 1/3 of the hydrostatic pressure at heel. How it is so? Let's find it out. The pressure, this is a drainage gallery which is provided in a dam. If there is a condition that it is full with water, or there is water of height h and in the downstream water is at height of h dash. So uplift pressure at this downstream end will be gamma w h dash and at the upstream end it will be gamma w into h. Now at the drainage gallery we have to determine uplift pressure at drainage gallery. It is given by gamma w h dash, that is uplift pressure at the downstream end plus 1/3 of the gamma w h minus gamma w h dash, that is the difference of the uplift pressure at upstream end and downstream end. So when you will solve it, you will find out that this is gamma w, this is 1/3 of gamma w h, that is 1/3 of the uplift pressure at upstream end, minus this will be gamma w h dash minus 1/3 of gamma w h dash, which will become 2/3 of the gamma w h dash. So it will become 2/3 of the uplift pressure at the downstream end plus 1/3 of the uplift pressure at the upstream end. Okay, which was given in this option. 2/3 of the hydrostatic pressure at toe plus 1/3 of the hydrostatic pressure at heel. Okay, clear? Next question, a deep well is always deeper than shallow well, has more discharge than shallow well, is weaker structurally than shallow well, or both A and B. That is, it is always deeper than shallow well as well as it has more discharge than shallow well. Just think about it. The answer will be option B, that is it has more discharge than shallow well. Okay, why it is so? Because the drawdown will be more in case of the deep well, so the discharge will be more. Okay, next question, the most suitable section of a lined canal is triangular section with circular bottom of small canals, trapezoidal section with rounded corners for large canals, both A and B, or none of the above. Just think about it. Very easy question. These both are the most suitable condition for the lined canal, in which first of all in the triangular section we provide rounded bottom, and in the trapezoidal section we will provide the rounded corners. If discharge is more, then trapezoidal sections are provided. If discharge is less, then triangular section is provided. Okay, so option C, that is both A and B, will be the correct answer. Next question, the depth of water required to bring the soil moisture content to a given soil up to its field capacity is called. hygroscopic water, equivalent moisture, soil moisture deficiency, or pellicular water? Just think about it. This is the difference of field capacity minus the available moisture content. So this is called the soil moisture deficiency. This is the difference of the soil moisture which will be there. This is the field capacity. Let's say this much is the moisture content. Now this difference, that is from the field capacity to this distance, is called the soil moisture deficiency. Okay. Next question. As compared to the gravity dams, earthen dams are costlier, are less susceptible to failure, require sound rock foundations, or require less skilled labor. Very easy question, just think about it. Gravity dam and earthen dam. Gravity dams are composed of mass concrete and earthen dam are composed of soil and rock fragments. So think about it. As compared to gravity dam, earthen dams are costlier, which is not possible. Obviously gravity dam will be costlier because it is made up of concrete and it is made up of soil only. Are less susceptible to failure, which is also incorrect. Gravity dams are less susceptible to failure as compared to earthen dams, and require sound rock foundation, which is also required in the case of gravity dam. In the earthen dam, we will not require a sound rock formation because everything is made up of soil only. Require less skilled labor. We can only say this, that it will require less skilled labor because the nature of the work is not so engineered. So answer D will be the correct answer. That is, it will require less skilled labor. The earthen dam will require less skilled labor as compared to the gravity dams. Okay. Next question. A fall in a canal bed is generally provided if ground slope exceeds the designed bed slope, or designed bed slope exceeds the ground slope, or the ground slope is practically the same as designed bed slope, or none of these. Think about it. What is the case in which we will provide the canal bed? Very easy question. You just have to visualize it in your mind. The answer will be option A, that is ground slope exceeds the designed bed slope. When ground slope, let's say in this case, this is the ground surface and this is the canal bed. If this ground surface, this exceeds the bed slope, it was the bed slope, and now in this case we can see here that it is exceeding the bed slope, and now again it is coming parallel to the canal slope. So in this case we will provide a canal fall so that we can meet this ground slope. So A will be the answer. Next question. For an annual flood series arranged in descending order of magnitude, the return period for a magnitude listed at the position period m in the total data n is n upon m plus 1, m upon n plus 1, or m upon n, or n plus 1 upon m. This is also easy question. If you memorize the Weibull formula to determine the return period, can you recall it? Okay, it is option D, that is n plus 1 upon m, which will be given by Weibull's formula, that is return period is n plus 1 upon m, where the definitions of n is number of the annual series of data used in analysis and m is the rank assigned for the given data in that series in descending order. Okay, with this example also I have explained in the video of revision of hydrology. You can visit to this video. You can watch this video from the link given in the description box, or you can watch it by downloading the app of Winds of Change, the link of which is also available in the description box. Next question. In a siphon aqueduct, drainage passes over the canal and full supply level of the canal is below the bottom of the drainage trough. Think about it, siphon aqueduct case. Or the drainage passes over the canal and FSL of the canal is above the bottom of the drainage trough, or canal passes over drainage and HFL of the drainage is above the bottom of the canal trough, or canal passes over the drainage and HFL of the drainage is below the bottom of the canal trough. Just think about it. In the case of an aqueduct, first of all, canal is over the drainage. Okay, so the option in which the canal is over the drainage can only be true. Only C and D will be the probable answer. A and B cannot be the answer because in this drainage is over the canal. Now when the canal passes over the drainage, there are two cases. Either highest flood level of the drainage is above the bottom of the canal trough, or HFL of the drainage is below the bottom of the canal trough. In case when HFL of drainage is below the bottom of the canal trough, in that case it will be called as aqueduct. While in the case in which the HFL of the drainage is above the bottom of the canal trough, in that case it is called as siphon aqueduct. So it will be siphon aqueduct, that is option C will be the correct answer. You can see here, this is the canal is over the drainage, and in this drain you can see HFL of the drain is above the canal bed level. This is the canal bed level and HFL is above this. Okay. Next question. Which of the following canal structure is used to remove the surplus water from the irrigation channel into a natural drain? Canal fall, canal outlet, canal escape, or canal regulator? Just think about it. We have already discussed this question in the first video of this 160 questions of hydrology and irrigation. Can you recall it? It will be called as canal escape. Canal escape is the one in which the surplus water is removed from the channel into a natural drain. Okay. Next question. If delta is the depth of water in meters, B is the number of days of base period, and D is the duty in hectare per cubic, then the relationship which holds good is D equal to delta 8.64 D by B, or B equal to delta 8.64 B by D, or D equal to 8.64 delta upon B, or delta equal to 8.64 B upon D. So the correct answer will be option D. You are well aware with it. We should not explain it. It is very easy question. You just have to memorize one thing, that 8.64 will come into the picture when delta is in meter. If we place it like 864 B by D, then delta will be in centimeter. Okay. Next question. Which of the following types of rain gauge is used for measuring the rain in remote, hilly, inaccessible areas? Tipping bucket type, weighing type, floating type, or Simon's rain gauge? Think about it. In the remote, hilly, inaccessible area, we need a type of rain gauge which is automatic, in which we should not remove the water after some time. It can empty itself. Just think about it. It will be tipping bucket type, because in the tipping bucket type it can empty itself after some time when it gets full. So that is why we use tipping bucket type rain gauge in the inaccessible terrain. Okay. Next question. In gravity canal, full supply level is always at the ground level, always below the ground level, or generally 4 to 5 meters above the ground level, or only a few centimeters above the ground level. Just think about it. In the gravity canal, full supply level is kept. The purpose of the gravity canal is to provide the water for the irrigation purpose. Now, if the level of the canal is below the ground level, then we will require some mechanical or electrical instrument to take off the water from the canal. Just like we require some centrifugal pump or any other kind of pumping arrangement. So we need water level to be above the ground level. Okay, so it will not be always at ground level, not be always below ground level, generally 4 to 5 meter above ground level, which is very large value. It cannot be provided 4 to 5 meter above ground level, because in the case if any mishappening occurs, then the amount of the discharge will be very higher. It will be flooded into the field surrounding it. So that is why we do not provide this much of the water. We will provide only few centimeters above the ground level. Okay, you can see here, this is the canal cutting, and full supply level is above the normal natural surface level. Okay, that is the ground level. This is the full supply level, and there is also a freeboard provided a few centimeters. So obviously it will be kept a few centimeters above the ground level. Okay, next question. Pick up the incorrect statement from the following. Culturable command area is the gross command area of the irrigation canal system except populated area, alkaline area, forest area, or fallow land. Think about it. The answer will be fallow land. What is a fallow land? A piece of land that is normally used for farming but that is left with no crops on it for a season in order to let it receive its fertility is an example of land that would be described as fallow. In this we keep the land free, we do not do farming on it, and we leave it so that its fertility can be improved. So the cultivable command area is the gross command area of an irrigation canal system except populated area, alkaline area and forest area. Fallow land is included in the cultivable command area. Okay. Next question. If the depth of the aquifer through which water is flowing, the relationship between permeability K and transmissibility T is given by. This is very easy question. D is the depth of aquifer and K is the permeability. Then T, that is transmissibility, will be given by T equal to KD. Okay, option A will be the correct answer. T equal to KD, it is very easy question. Next question. The value of sodium adsorption ratio for high sodium water lies between 0 to 10, 10 to 18, 18 to 26 or 26 to 34. You should memorize these values. It is very important to memorize it. For high sodium water, can you recall it? We have already discussed this question. Think about it. It will be option C, that is 18 to 26. 0 to 10 it is low sodium water, 10 to 18 it is medium sodium water, 18 to 26 it is high sodium water, and above 26 it will be very high sodium water. So since in the question it was asked that high sodium water, so it is 18 to 26. Okay. Next question. Variability of the rainfall is largest in the region of high rainfall, largest in the coastal area, largest in the region of scanty rainfall. The correct answer is only first and second, only third, or second and third. Think about it. Take your time. In this question, the variability of rainfall will be largest in the region of scanty rainfall only. Okay, so option C will be the correct answer. In the case of the high rainfall area or the coastal area, the variability will be lesser. What is rainfall variability? The degree to which the rainfall amounts vary across an area, which is called the rainfall variability. Now, this is an important characteristic of the climate of an area. Okay. Next question. Interception losses are due to evaporation, transpiration, stream flow. The correct answer is only first and second, second and third, or all of these. Think about it. Interception losses, that is those water which are stuck at the trees or some leaves of the plants. So obviously that cannot be a loss of stream flow, which is incorrect. There will not be loss of transpiration. It will only be the loss of the evaporation. So the answer that will be correct here will be option A, that is only one, that is evaporation losses will be the interception losses. Okay, next question. The forces which are considered for the analysis of an elementary profile of gravity dam under empty reservoir condition are water pressure, self-weight, uplift, or pressure due to earthquake. What will be the correct answer here? In the elementary profile of gravity dam, first of all, in the elementary profile, there will only be the forces that will be self-weight, water pressure, as well as the uplift pressure. Now, the condition that is being given here, that gravity dam has empty reservoir condition. In the empty reservoir condition, all the forces that is related to water will be nil, will be zero. So water pressure will not be there, self-weight will be there. Okay, uplift pressure will not be there as there is no water, and pressure due to the earthquake, which is also not considered. So in the elementary profile, we will consider only second one, that is only the self-weight is considered. Okay, this is the elementary profile of the gravity dam. This is the condition in which there is the full flow of the water. In that case, all the forces have been taken, these three forces, but in the case of empty reservoir, only the self-weight will act. Next question. If straight side of the triangular section of a lined canal with circular bottom R makes an angle theta with the horizontal, the area of this cross section is. This is totally a geometrical question. R theta plus tan theta, R theta plus cot theta, R square theta plus tan theta, or R square theta plus cot theta. Think about it. You can solve it by your own also. The answer that will be correct here will be option D, that is R square theta plus cot theta. In the question it was given that it makes angle theta with the horizontal and the radius of the bottom is R. So it will be given by R square theta plus cot theta. You can determine it by your own by solving it. I am moving further. Next question. If D1 and D2 are the depth of the water upstream and downstream of a hydraulic jump, the loss of the head at the jump is D2 minus D1 cube upon D1 D2, d2 minus d1 cube upon 2 d1 d2, d2 minus d1 cube upon 3 d1 d2, or d2 minus d1 cube upon 4 d1 d2. This is the case of hydraulic jump. We have to find out the energy loss in the hydraulic jump. Usually this question is related to the open channel flow, but since we are also considering irrigation here, so here also it becomes important. What is the formula? Can you recall it from open channel flow? If not, then I am telling you, this is the option D, that is d2 minus d1 2 whole cube upon 4 d1 d2. Okay, next question. The main function of the divide wall is to control the silt entry in the canal, or prevent the river flood from entering the canal, or separate the under sluices from the weir proper, or provide smooth flow at sufficiently low velocity. Think about it. Why we provide a divide wall? In the diversion headwork, we provide a divide wall. What is the function of that? Think about it. It will separate the under sluices from the weir proper. Okay, in this case you can see here, this is the divide wall which is provided. Now left side where there will be canal, here we have to raise the water level. Okay, so under sluices are being provided here, and at this side this will be normal weir portion. Okay, weir proper. So here we will not provide under sluices, so we will separate these two, that is under sluices from weir proper, using a divide wall. Okay, got it. So next question. The duty is largest at the head of the water course, on the field, on the head of the main canal, or same at all places. Think about it. Largest duty will be at, it will be highest on the field. Okay, since all the losses has already been taken place, so on the field all the losses will not be taken into consideration. On the field the duty will be the largest one. If we have to find out the duty at head of the water course or head of the main canal, then we have to incorporate some losses also. Okay. Next question. In a chute spillway, the flow is usually uniform, subcritical, critical, or supercritical. Just think about it. Very easy question. The case of the chute spillway. In the case of chute spillway, the flow is usually supercritical. Okay. In this one, usually the hydraulic jump occurs. That is why it is called as supercritical flow in case of the chute spillway. When the water comes through chute spillway and joins the water at the bottom, then there will be the supercritical flow. Next question. Groins are generally built perpendicular to the bank, inclined upstream up to 30 degree, inclined downstream up to 30 degree, or all of the above. Think about it. Groins. You know about groins first of all. These are the river training works which are provided. Okay, so these are mainly inclined at upstream up to 30 degree. Okay, these are like groins, and the angle between this, it will be the angle that is 30 degree. Up to 30 degree it will be inclined. Okay, this angle will be 30 degree in between these, and it will be inclined upstream. Actual picture of the groin, you can find it out here. You can watch it and visualize it, how a groins can look. Next question. The rainfall on 5 successive days were measured as 100 mm, 80 mm, 60 mm, 40 mm and 20 mm respectively. If the infiltration index or the storm loss rate for the catchment area is earlier estimated as 50 mm per day, the total surface runoff will be 50 mm, 60 mm, 90 mm or 140 mm. Just think about it. You can use your notebook also to calculate it. It is an easy question. The answer will be option C. In this question, the total surface runoff which has to be determined, that is the rainfall above infiltration index. Let's say this value is phi index or W index, whatever it can be. Since there is no base flow, so we can say it as phi index or W index. This runoff will be above this phi index. The runoff will be above this one. Okay. Below this, there will be only infiltration. Now, in the first case, it is 100 mm. Since 100 mm is more than 50 mm, that is the infiltration. So, value of 100 minus 50, that is the 50 mm will contribute to the runoff. In the next case, 80 mm, that is 80 minus 50, that is 30 mm will be the contributing to the runoff. In third case, that is third day, 60 mm. 60 mm means 10 mm will contribute to the runoff, and in case of 40 mm, there will be no contribution to the runoff, so we will take it 0. It cannot be minus, it will be taken as 0. And in case of the 20 mm runoff, we will take 0 also. So what will be the total runoff? It will be 50 plus 30 plus 10, that is 50 plus 30, 80 plus 10, that is the 90 mm. So answer will be 90 mm. Option C will be the correct answer. Okay. Next question. When a canal and a drainage approach each other at the same level, the structure so provided is called aqueduct, siphon, level crossing, or inlet and outlet. Very easy question. When both are at the same level, when both are at different level, it can be either aqueduct or siphon. In the case of both at the same level and they are merging with each other, it is called as level crossing. Okay, option C will be the correct answer. Next question. Study the following statements. Levees are constructed parallel to the river flow. Spurs or the groins, they are constructed parallel to the river flow. Levees are constructed transverse to the river flow, or spurs are constructed transverse to the river flow. Correct answer will be first and second, first and fourth, second and third, or third and fourth. Think about it. One is constructed parallel to the river flow and other is constructed perpendicular to the river flow. Can you recall it? Spurs or the groins we have already discussed. Usually spurs are provided as transverse direction, that is at 90 degree to the river flow, and the levees are constructed parallel to the river flow. So option B will be the correct answer, that is first and fourth. First, that is the levees constructed parallel to the river flow and spurs are constructed transverse to the river flow. Okay, how it is so? We will see that a levee, this is a case of the levee. Levees are provided parallel to the river flow direction. Okay, levees, dikes or embankment, flood bank or stop bank is an elongated naturally occurring ridge or artificially constructed fill or wall that regulates the water levels. It is usually earthen and often parallel to the course of the river in its floodplain or along the low-lying coastlines. Okay, these are the levees. And spurs or groins, we have already seen spurs or groins. These are provided transverse direction to the river flow, also called as groins, spurs, dikes and transverse dikes. They constitute probably the most widely used training work. Spurs are the structures constructed on the river bank normal to the dominant flow direction or at an angle pointing upstream or downstream. Okay, so these are the groins. Next question. Instantaneous unit hydrograph is a hydrograph of unit duration, unit rainfall axis, infinitely small duration or infinitely small rainfall axis. Correct statement is 1 and second, 1 and 4, second and third, or third and fourth. Just think about it. I have explained about instantaneous unit hydrograph very well in the video of hydrology second part, that is hydrographs. You can visit to that video through the link given in the description box, or you can find it out at the app of Winds of Change. You can install it from the link given in the description box only. So the answer here will be option C, that is second and third. Instantaneous unit hydrograph is a hydrograph of unit rainfall axis and infinitely small duration. Instantaneous means already the infinitely small duration, and unit hydrograph is for the unit rainfall axis, that is rainfall axis of 1 centimeter. Okay, this is the instantaneous unit hydrograph which was explained in the video. You can watch it there. Next question. To estimate the magnitude of the flood with return period of T years, Gumbel's distribution method requires the following data pertaining to the annual flood series. Gumbel method to determine the magnitude of flood with return period of T years. For that we will require mean value, standard deviation, return period, coefficient of skew. The correct answer will be in these first and second, first, second and third, first, second and fourth, or all of these. Think about it. Can you recall the Gumbel method? In the Gumbel method, we will require first three terms. So option B will be the correct answer, that is first, second and third. In this method, we will require, first of all, we will require the mean value. Okay, this is the mean value which will be required here, and standard deviation which is placed here. Now in the value of K, in the K, K is composed of Yt minus Yn upon Sn. So here it will be Yt minus, these values are constant, only Yt is varying, and Yt depends upon minus of ln of 1 minus 1 upon T, where T is the return period. Okay. It will not depend upon the coefficient of screw, which does not comes into this formula. We have explained this Gumbel method in the video of revision of hydrology, that is part 2 of the hydrology. You can visit there from the link given in the description box also. So the correct answer here will be option B, that is first, second and third. Okay. So here we will finish with this video at 90th question. In the next video we will come with the question number 91 to 120. Till that, subscribe to this channel and stay updated.